Welcome back. In the previous session, we have discussed about spermatogenesis, oogenesis and menstrual cycle in human females. Now, during the 14th day of the menstrual cycle, the secondary oocyte or ovum is released by the ovary in a process called as ovulation. This ovum will then be transported through the fallopian tube and it will be present near the ampullary junction of the oviduct. The human ovum has a lifespan of 24 hours, meaning if it is not fertilized within 24 hours, it will soon lose its viability. Therefore, it is very important for the sperm to meet the ovum within 24 hours. The sperm is released into the female reproductive tract in an event called as insemination. The sperm along with the seminal plasma, which is called as semen, is released inside the genital tract. From there, the sperms will swim vigorously with the help of the flagellar movements, and through the cervix they enter into the uterus, and from the uterus the sperms will then swim and reach the ampullary region of the oviduct where the ovum is already present. The next step is fertilization. It is simply the fusion of the sperm with the ovum. Now, the ovum, if you look at its diagram, has three membranal coverings: the outermost corona radiata, the inner zona pellucida, and the innermost plasma membrane. Therefore, if the sperm needs to fuse with the nucleus of the ovum, it has to penetrate these three membranes, which is facilitated by the acrosome. At the anterior portion of the sperm head, we have a vesicular structure called as acrosome. This acrosome is filled with several enzymes, important ones being hyaluronidases and acrosome. As the sperm swims towards the ovum, as you can see in the diagram, first the acrosome will release the enzyme hyaluronidases, which will help in penetrating the outermost corona radiata layer. Then the sperm will gain access into the zona pellucida. With the help of the enzyme acrosome, the zona pellucida membrane is disintegrated and the sperm head will now gain access to the plasma membrane. Part of the plasma membrane is also digested by the acrosome. So now the sperm has gained access into the plasma membrane. The sperm head, that is the plasma membrane of the sperm, will now fuse with the plasma membrane of the ovum or the secondary oocyte. As soon as the sperm head fuses with the plasma membrane of the secondary oocyte or ovum, the entry of other sperms will be prohibited. Basically, polyspermy is prevented. This is due to certain membranal changes in the plasma membrane of the ovum. As soon as the sperm head touches the plasma membrane, the ovum nucleus will complete the second meiosis. Now, the end of second meiosis, we have a ootid and the production of second polar body. The ootid nucleus is haploid in nature. The haploid nucleus of the sperm head will now enter into the cytoplasm of the ovum, wherein the sperm nucleus will fuse with the ootid nucleus. This is what is called as fertilization. This will result in the production of a diploid zygote. What happens to the first and second polar body is not known until now. So the end product of fertilization is the formation of a diploid zygote. Point to note here is the male nucleus is fusing with the female, that is the ootid nucleus. The contents of the cytoplasm of the zygote is primarily from the maternal cell. So the zygote contains the cytoplasm of the ootid, and the nucleus is a fusion of the male and the female nucleus. This zygote, after 24 hours, it will start undergoing a series of divisions called as cleavage divisions. Cleavage divisions are interesting in the sense that they don't increase the size or mass of the cells. These are longitudinal divisions that take place. As you can see in the diagram, one single zygote undergoes a longitudinal division producing two cells, which then undergo another mitotic division which is perpendicular to the first division, producing 4 cells. 4 cells will divide to produce 8 cells. 8 cells will then divide to produce 16 cells. At this stage, where the zygote is seen as 8 cells or 16 celled stage, is called as morula. Also, another point to note in mind is, during this cleavage divisions, this wall of cells is slowly moving towards the uterus. It is traveling in the oviduct. The morula then undergoes another set of divisions to produce a ball of cells, which is now called as blastula or blastocyst. The cells will rearrange themselves in the blastocyst. The outermost layer is called as trophoblast, as seen in the diagram. Then there is a mass of cells within the trophoblast called as the inner cell mass. The empty cavity is called as blastocoele. This blastocyst will now travel down the uterus, and it will then get itself attached to the inner wall of the uterus, the endometrium layer. The attachment of the blastocyst to the endometrium layer of the uterus is known as implantation. It will plant itself into the endometrium layer. As soon as the blastocyst plants itself to the endometrium layer, the uterine cells will start dividing, and the uterine tissue will now cover the blastocyst. So we can say that the blastocyst is now embedded within the endometrium layer, which is called as implantation. The cells present in the morula or in the blastocyst, which are produced as a result of cleavage divisions, are called as blastomeres. As soon as the blastocyst implants itself within the endometrium layer, the outermost trophoblast layer, it will produce finger-like structures called as chorionic villi. This chorionic villi will help in the firm attachment of the blastocyst within the uterine tissues. Not only that, the chorionic villi are richly supplied with blood vessels. The chorionic villi, along with the uterine tissues, are surrounded by blood vessels of the mother. This will produce a disc-like structure called as the placenta. The placenta is a structure that is produced by the fetal, that is the embryo, as well as the maternal tissues. The placenta is connected to the embryo with the help of a umbilical cord, as you can see in the diagram. This placenta is very important in the development of the embryo. Now, if the embryo has to develop, the cells need to grow, the cells need to develop, and the cells need to differentiate, producing tissues, organs and organ systems, for which nutrition is required. Therefore, one of the major functions of the placenta is it provides nutrition to the embryo. From the maternal tissue, glucose and other nutrients are transported to the embryo through the placenta. Not only that, the end products of nutrition, that is waste materials, need to be excreted out of the embryo. Therefore, the placental tissue will also help in excretion of metabolic wastes from the embryo. It also helps in the exchange of respiratory gases such as oxygen and carbon dioxide. The embryo derives oxygen from the placental tissue through the maternal blood, and the waste product carbon dioxide is thrown into the maternal blood through the placental tissue. So, some of the important functions of the placenta. Not only that, the placenta produces many hormones which are very essential for the growth of the fetus, which means that during pregnancy the metabolism in the mother will increase. So, it is responsible for the changed metabolic reactions of mother, and most importantly, these hormones are responsible for maintenance of the pregnancy. One of the important hormones, progesterone, is very important for maintenance of pregnancy. If the progesterone hormone decreases, the endometrium layer will become thin and it could result in abortions. Because we saw in the menstrual cycle, the uterus wall, that is the inner wall, becomes thick due to progesterone hormone. So these hormones are very important. Some of the placental hormones which are produced during pregnancy are the human chorionic gonadotropin (HCG), human placental lactogen (HPL). Along with it, it also produces estrogens and progestogens. Among these hormones, the human chorionic gonadotropin, the human placental lactogen, and during the later stages of pregnancy, another hormone called as relaxin is produced. These three are produced only during pregnancy. So, these levels could be used for detection of pregnancy. Along with this, other hormones such as cortisol will also increase in the mother's body, which are required for maintenance of pregnancy. So placenta plays a very important role in the growth, development and differentiation of the embryo. The embryonic development or embryogenesis starts at the end of the first week after fertilization. By now already the blastocyst has been embedded into the endometrium layer and the placental tissue is formed. The trophoblast layer is interdigitated within the endometrium layer. The inner cell mass will now differentiate and it produces a outer ectoderm and an inner endoderm. Soon after, a third layer is generated in between the ectoderm and endoderm called as the mesoderm. The mesoderm layer is responsible for the development of all the organs seen within the embryo. All the organs will complete their development by the end of the first trimester, that is the 3-month stage. Now we can call the embryo as a fetus wherein the organs are well developed. Let us look at stage by stage embryogenesis in a human child. What happens during the first month, second month and till the end of the third trimester. The duration of pregnancy in human females is of an average 9 months, which is called as the gestation period. Gestation period can vary from organisms. It can be different in cows, elephants, dogs, etc. So the gestation period in human beings is 9 months, during which the embryo develops into the fetus. As you can see in the diagram,
at the end of 3 months, that is the first trimester, the fetus is around 7 to 9 centimeter in length. Fingers and toes are distinct. The fetal circulation is complete, which means heart is ready and the organ systems are complete. At the end of 4 months, the fetus has increased in length and the sex organs are differentiated. At the end of 5 months, the fetal body is covered by fine hair and the fetus starts showing movements. By the end of 6 months, the skin is completely formed, the eyelids are separated and eyelashes start developing. Fingernails are also formed. By the end of 7 months, the skin is red, the eyes are open. So opening and closing of eyes is seen. By the end of 8 months, the fingerprints are set and the fetus shows vigorous movements. By this time, the fetus will also turn upside down and undergoes the next period of development. At the end of 9 months, the skin is smooth, bones of skull are ossified and nearly they are together, and the fetus is now ready for delivery.
The delivery or childbirth is called as parturition. Event of parturition is under the neuroendocrine control. When the fetus is completely developed, a signal is induced by the placenta as well as the fetus. This will induce the muscles of the uterus called as fetal ejection reflex. fetal ejection reflex. This is how the fetus is delivered through the birth canal. It is expelled out. Now, due to the fetal ejection reflex, the pituitary gland of the mother will secrete a hormone called as oxytocin. This oxytocin hormone will act on the uterine walls once again, stimulating stronger contractions and relaxations of the uterine muscles. The increased contractions of the uterine muscles will further produce more oxytocin, which will further increase the uterine contractions. Therefore, it is under the neuroendocrine control. This stronger uterine contractions and relaxations will result in the delivery of the child through the birth canal. Other hormones such as estrogen and cortisols also play a role during parturition. As soon as the fetus is delivered, the umbilical cord is cut and tied. The placental tissue will also be expelled out of the birth canal. During the later period of pregnancy, that is around the 8th month, the mammary glands will start developing and the alveolar cells in them will start secreting milk, which is called as lactation. As soon as the child is born, it is advised to milk the child. The milk that is produced during the initial few days of childbirth is called as colostrum. It is a thick yellow colored liquid. It is rich in antibodies. This colostrum is very important to develop the immunity and resistance in a newborn child. Therefore, it is advised by the doctors to milk the child during the initial 6 months to 1 year. That is about the lesson human reproduction. Thank you.